All right, another question that I can answer really quick, although this could be a longer conversation for the right time. But for now, I can start the conversation and we can keep it going in the comments, whatever. Wherever it goes, let it go. My views on God and religion. So a little bit of a background here. I was raised Catholic and Christian. They're both Jesus. Just one also references the saints, Los Santos, and the other one is just Jesus Christ. I was raised that way, but I always thought, it's my neighbors, I always thought that it was, for lack of a better word, weird. Not weird. Well, yeah, maybe weird. I found a lot of things weird when I was a kid that I felt I couldn't really speak on. So one of them was how people felt they had to go to a church to have time with God. I didn't understand that. That made no sense to me at all, and it still doesn't. I went down that path because I wanted to understand it. So I went down that path. I allowed myself to be engulfed in that experience and be that. And I was that for a few years. And again, it's just, all it did was raise more questions as to more things not making sense. Like some of the things that, like the rules that they go by, like no sex till marriage and all of this shit. Like it makes no sense to me. And to me, it actually goes against human psychology. And even at some aspects, human physiology. So it's, I was like, this is weird. This is not God. I was someone who was born, and I don't give a fuck what the perception is on this. I was someone who was born already with a knowing of God. I've always had a connection to God. Always. My family will literally tell you till you're blue in the face. Me as a little girl going to the window and kneeling on the couch and on the windowsill and looking up and talking to God, and then seeing God like almost like zoom back out, and I'm waving by, and then all of a sudden I just get quiet because whatever. I've always had a relationship and a knowing of God, not a belief, a knowing. There's a difference. There is a difference. I've always known God, and I've always felt God. I can feel literally the frequency of God. I can sense when God is talking to me. I can sense when God is guiding me. I've always been able to do this. This has never stopped. This has literally been my entire existence. But what they were teaching who God was did not make any sense to me. It didn't line up with who God actually is. They make God sound so small and petty and very humanistic, when God is so much bigger than the 3D human experience. But again, I think that what they did was minimize God to their level of understanding. And that's so small. That's so small. It's like it doesn't even begin to properly understand who and what God really is. God is so much more vast than anything they teach. I mean, it is so limiting. And it bothered me so much that Christianity actually led me to be very frustrated. It left me with a lot of questions because a lot of things didn't make any sense. I tried getting the questions answered by somebody, trying to give people a chance to explain it. No one explained it. No one could. I found that funny. Again, I'm not attacking the religion of Christianity. I don't want Christians coming in my comments blowing fucking shit up. That's not what this is. I don't have anything against any religion. It's just not for me. My thing is that it almost actually led me to suicide, because it's almost like they make you feel like you're forced to believe a version of God that is not actually who God is in fullness. And it's so small. It's like trying to fit a really large person in a little peg hole. It was stupid to me, all right? And again, I'm not trying to insult someone's beliefs, but again, I have a knowing of God, and I've always had a knowing of God, and I knew that that's not God. A lot of the characteristics that they said were very immature, emotionally unintelligent, like, person, and that's not God. So, like, the whole God is a jealous God. No, he's not. Like, no. Now, if you want to talk just the overall experience of all of the array of emotions that we all experience, sure, but that's not how they teach it. They teach it as if God is this really petty, emotionally unintelligent person who's just like, you have to do what I say and it has to be only me. If not, you go to hell. And that's not what the fuck, that is not God at all. Like, not in the least bit. Okay. So anyways, so I said, you know what? I'm going to have to walk away from this. And part of, I guess I needed that experience though, because the curiosity of it when I was a kid kind of burdened me. So needing to go down that path and experience it for myself was something that, now looking back, was probably necessary so that I can close that book and know for sure that that's just not it for me. It's very limiting. It's very like no accountability for self kind of belief, and it doesn't work for somebody who does strive to hold themselves accountable and heal and go on a higher path. It's just it doesn't fit. Again, don't come for me in the comments. You could believe what you want to believe. I'm not telling anybody what to believe. You asked, I'm giving the answers, my answers. So again, I left the church for good. What do you know? God continued to follow me around. What can I say? And yes, I joke with God like that. Yes, we have a much deeper relationship than, whenever I actually go to explain our relationship, the look on people's face tells me that they don't really understand what it is to have an individualistic relationship with God that has nothing to do with anyone else. Just your own authentic relationship, whatever that looks like. But God cracks jokes with me. I'm very good with humor. I can laugh at anything. I've laughed at myself in the middle of darkness. Okay? I can laugh at anything. So continue, God and the universe continue to guide me, continue to send me messages, guiding me through the experiences ahead. They would warn me of things coming, telling me how to prepare for those things. Not telling me every detail because there were some lessons I needed to learn. So I needed the experience of itself too. So God and the universe allowed the experience to happen. I followed the guidance. I know when it's God talking to me. And I allowed myself to go through the experience, to be fully engulfed in the experience, feel all the human emotions that come with this experience. I even embodied versions of me that I didn't even know existed, in order to engulf myself into the experience so that I can get the richness of it, whether it be light or dark, so that I can basically trying to squeeze the lemon as much as you can to get much out of it. And I learned a lot that way. And along the way, there are people that, the way I word it is like, they're disguised as angels or angels in disguise. Really higher frequency beings that use some people's physical bodies here that don't actually house a soul. That's a whole nother conversation. But just empty beings here. They come through and they give me messages. So they give me messages, whether it be guidance, whether it be whatever it is to help me ultimately. And I've used that as well. Very grateful for them. I started taking accountability for everything. Again, God helped me with that. Everything just lines up way too divine for me to ever think otherwise. Like I said, even when I got here, even before I got here, I already had a knowing of God. But for me to turn around and be like, there's no God, that just absolutely is ridiculous. It's not happening. Everything that happened in my life happened in literally a divine order. And I had divine protection all along the way with divine guidance. There's literally no denying that whatsoever. Because a lot of the things, that the way that they happen make no logical sense. It cannot just be explained. And some of the things I made it out of make no sense. You can't physically explain it. People have tried and they can't. So there's more than enough proof that God exists. And again, my views on that is that we all are. But that's a whole nother conversation. Refer to my previous videos for that. But yeah, it's evident. It's more than obvious. I mean, literally, unless your head's in the sand, and you live under a rock, it's just more than obvious. Look around you. Even the most simplistic things that can't be answered are divine. There's divine intelligence all around us. It's just up to us on whether or not to perceive it or not. Religion to me is very different though. Religion goes way back. Even back to Constantine. A little before Constantine, really. I don't think it's anything that Jesus taught. If we're really going to talk about Jesus, he's the most popular one. He didn't teach any of that. Ooh, I'm going to get some salt shakers in the comments. He didn't teach any of that shit. If you really really do some digging on the history, he didn't teach any of that. A matter of fact, half of the things he actually did are not taught in the Christian church. So, and if you look at what he says in the Bible, it doesn't line up with half of the shit they teach either. So it's like, what the fuck? So when I was younger, in my young 20s, like when I was homeless, I would go to the library and read up on human psychology and wanted to understand like why people do what they do. Why do they behave the way they behave? And like, I tried to help myself put two and two together. Again, divine guidance, whatever I felt was like, that's the nudge. That's what I read. And it made perfect sense. Then I went down another hole of like later on, a few years later, on metaphysics and all this other stuff. Anyways, it makes sense. So religion was really a set of rules to keep people in predictable behavior by the masses. Because it's hard to control a large group of people, a nation of people, an empire back then of people, even in some countries today, an empire. So there has to be some kind of like moral compass or some kind of set of rules that people can latch onto morally, that they can hold a conviction about, so that their behaviors can fall in line and they can because of the conviction, they're going to pass it on to their kids. And now you're creating a nation of predictable behavior. And that was one of the reasons religion was born, among other things. It's very profitable, by the way. It is very profitable. Don't let anybody sit there and tell you all the money goes to God. No. I've seen pastors go from nothing to a lot. So it is very profitable. I looked in the business side of it. I see it. It's profitable. They're making money. Again, I don't knock anyone. It's a business like any other. You got to make your money, make it how you live. But it's not, to me, it makes no sense. It makes no sense because a lot of it also doesn't make room for accountability. It doesn't make room for some of the essentials that somebody needs in their character to be able to really grow and develop who they are in a very high way. And again, anyone who is a Christian, who has that conviction, I'm not telling you to not believe what you believe. This isn't about me telling people what to believe. This is not what that is. I'm not doing that. I've seen an experience go awry in that way too. I'm not here to tell people what to believe. But if you resonate, you resonate. If you don't, you don't. It's just simple as that. The institution of religion is not for me. I don't believe spirituality should be institutionalized. Like, how do you institutionalize spirituality? Like, how do you do that? Like, again, only to create predictable behavior and control the masses. And maybe even turn it into a business, which is what they successfully did. But other than that, how do you do that? Like, spirituality is so individualistic. It's so, I know we are one, but that's not the conversation I'm having here. I'm talking about, it's such an individualistic experience. Like, it looks different for me than it does for someone else. Even if we live in the same house, even if we had children, even if you're my mom, my dad, whoever, like, it looks so different for all of us because what your soul needs may not be what my soul needs, may not be what my kids' soul needs. Like, and then the lessons that I need to learn in the way that I need to learn them are going to be very different from the lessons that you need to learn in the way that you need to learn them. So the experiences that are going to come from your life that are divine are going to be different from mine. And yes, we may cross up and have same experience, but even in the same experience, my perspective that I got from it is different than the perspective that someone else got from it, even in the same experience. So again, you can only give yourself what your soul needs. Like, this is not something that is just one big uniform that you give everybody and now everybody has to walk in line. To me, that takes away the authenticity and the realness of the relationship because everybody's now just following a one-way trail. And there is no one-way trail. It's like that saying, like, there's a bunch of roads, but you're going to end up at the top of the mountain, but doesn't mean that there's one way to get there. You could hike to the left, you could hike to the right. There could be a trail that could probably take you around the mountain and then up. Like, there's a million different ways to get to the top of the mountain, but we're just all going home. We're just all walking each other home. There is no one way. Otherwise, it takes away, it robs the authenticity from it. It robs the genuine realness of it. Because now you're just trying to be me and I'm trying to be you. And we're comparing each other's journey and like telling each other how it should be. When who the fuck are we to tell somebody else what their journey should look like? And who the fuck is someone else to tell us what our journey should look like? So to keep it real and authentic and genuine and to keep that real connection that I've always had, I just stuck with just only God. Not following any fucking religion at all. I'm not disrespecting them either. It's just not for me. I see right through it in certain aspects. And again, if someone doesn't view it that way and they're watching this video, you know, it is what it is. I'm not apologizing for it. Just like you shouldn't apologize for what you believe. But I also believe that I believe in flexibility. That if you hear something that makes sense, that contradicts what you already believe, there should be a flexibility to be able to change your mind. If there's a rigidity, then it's called cognitive dissonance, and that shows a sense of almost like an emotional maturity, emotional immaturity, like yeah, like a lack of intelligence in a way. And it's also fear. It's a fear, like a fear of change. Like you feel like it's also, you know what it is? It's also that you made your beliefs who you are. And that's dangerous because beliefs are meant to change. They're meant to change and evolve. And if you latch on to what you believed 10 years ago, the way you believed it 10 years ago, then you could never, you're going to always face an internal battle of allowing yourself to grow and evolve into a higher version of yourself if you're stuck trying to hold on to something because you think it's part of your identity. And that is like one of the ways people self-sabotage themselves with cognitive dissonance, is that you don't allow yourself to fully evolve with new information because you're scared to change, because you really think that that's who you are. And it's not. It's not. You're not defined by anything. So you're free to evolve, as you should. Especially if you're asking for change in your life. Otherwise, you're doomed to repeat the same experiences because you're choosing to be the same person. So don't mix your beliefs with your identity. Those two should not be, your beliefs change. Again, a belief and a knowing are two totally different things. And I know people are going to jump on saying it's a knowing. No, it's not. Especially if your identity is stuck to it. Then it's a belief. I know God, but I don't lock my identity into anything other than just I'm an evolving soul. And I leave my heart open and my spirit open so that higher evolving can happen. Self-improvement is free to happen within me. And I can learn from different versions of myself the lessons that I need to move forward into the next level. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, put it down in the comments. More than happy to answer them. We want to share your views, absolutely. Let's be fucking respectful. Let's not be cunts. Let's not be bitches. And let's not be judgmental little pricks. Let's be mature. For the most part, my community here on this channel is very, very vulnerable, open, honest people. And I like to keep it that way. Love you guys.